invite
Okay.
Paul up. And Faith, do you want to come up, Faith? So, would rather hear Dennis than myself. Maybe
we'll
Paul's
do
just
a we'll do a couple more, and then I'm gonna deke out of here. I'm
Yeah, it's been a long.
close to
It really
burnout. I've
brings
been
me
talking 4 hours straight. I
and
mean,
for
I
two
like to
weekends
hear
in a row.
myself talk, but there are limits, you know. So,
Oh, we won't tell. Let's see. Okay, Blake. All right, Blake. Let's have Blake up. Let's see what Blake has got for us. Blake, where are you, Blake? Okay, the interface is a little challenging sometimes. But you guys did really well today with that. Oh, here's Paul and Tico.
yeah,
So we might
despite
have
all the
Blake and
technical
Paul.
problems, I feel really terrible about that. But
That's
I mean,
okay. And I mean, the spirit prevails. Hey, Paul
yeah,
and Tico, your mic is on. This is a good friend of mine, and you're up, Paul.
okay, okay. So who is who here? Blake and Paul, and so who is asking the question? You can't hear me. You can't. Can you hear me?
No,
Hmm.
yeah, we can hear Dennis. Dennis, we can hear you. We can't hear Paul, even though your
Okay.
mic is on. Your mic is toggled on. So why don't you work with that, Paul? And I'll come back to you. I'm going to put Blake here. Hi, Blake. You have a question or some commentary here? Blake, you there? Oh, it's back to the old thing where they're
There
not
we
able
are.
to hear me.
Okay.
He's going to reconnect. Okay.
I wonder if it's so
So yeah, I
buggy
think that's been because of
because the number of
in
people.
here.
I mean,
Could be we
64
could be overloading it.
400 people may put a strain on the system. So Blake,
Yep,
can you hear me?
Blake, we can hear you. Blake, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Blake can't
Okay.
hear you. I'm going to type a question for him. We can hear him. Ask away. Blake.
Okay. Well, so I guess hopefully you can hear me. I'm curious about during your experiment in La Chorrera, you talk a lot about sympathetic resonance, and you also reference it in your book, The Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss. And I was just curious if you had ever revisited that, or if it had ever come up the sort of the idea of modulating DNA had come up again in your life, or if that was something you had just abandoned since then. So that was my question.
Let's see. Blake, can you hear us?
I can you hear us?
He can't.
He can't hear
But
you.
I can.
Can't
No, we
really
lost.
answer a question like that.
Yeah, it was something about. I heard sympathetic system, and I heard written
Okay.
about something. Okay.
My question is, I was curious if you can hear.
Slowly.
What really interested me about the experiment at La Chorrera was that you were using tones and trying to modify your DNA. And I was just curious if that idea of sympathetic resonance had ever come up again in your life, or if it was just something that you had experienced once as an idea. If you could talk about that at all, or if
Well,
it just kind of, that was all.
yeah, it's very much it's since been part of, you know, it has come up again. I think I work with a gentleman, Alexandre Tanut, who is a sound practitioner. He wouldn't call himself a sound healer, but he does a lot of work with sound, and he knows just about everything there is to know about sound. We did a mystery school retreat with him in November and learned a great deal about sympathetic resonance, all of these things. I mean, and if you look at traditional ayahuasca practices, it's the karos that really drive the content and the visions. So there's definitely a relationship between sound and what's going on the neurophysiological level. Uh, the ideas of the experiment at La Chorrera are probably not valid. Well, in fact, they definitely aren't valid. Many of them, but there were kernels of truth there also in this sort of ideational milieu of crazy ideas that we came up with. And one of them is that you can initiate chemical reactions using sound, and it turns out that's right on the money. Not necessarily the way we approached it, but there's a whole field called sonochemistry, which is basically using sound to initiate chemical reactions. So on some level, we had the right idea. That sound is a powerful way to possibly even modulate gene expression and this sort of thing. This is Alexandre. When we did the Mystery School retreat last November, he gave a talk called "Sound is the Medicine of the Future," and I think maybe he's right. That very, very interesting. And this is probably on his website, which I'll put out there. I'll write it down. Very good information here. Alexandre's website. You can. I think that's correct. Soundmeditation.com. You can learn. There's a lot of good videos and other material there that talks about the effects of sound on neurophysiology and altered states. They're including brain maps of people listening to different types of sound and looking at the patterns that result and so on. So sound and psychedelics very much go hand in hand, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Because again, look at the website. He knows far more about it than I do. All right, one more.
Dennis, we got one more little bit here. I was hoping Paul might type his question in, but I don't think he can hear us. But there's an interesting question here from a good friend of mine, Faith Mitchell. Any feedback on folks having journeys during this pandemic? I heard the collective intensity may impact the experience.
Well, I would say it's up to you. For one thing, since we're all cloistered and staying at home, it might be a good time. If you like being at home, it might be a good time to